I'm sure most of you have seen what Lucas Paqueta has said during an interview whilst on international duty with Brazil this week. But for those of you who have not, don't worry, I got you. I'm going to give you the short and sweet version of it before giving my opinion on what Paqueta had to say. However, I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys think, because quite often we'll discuss the West Ham subject of the day on this channel, and I feel quite confident how our subscribers are going to react, what their opinions are going to be, and it's not that controversial. But now and again, a topic will come along, and it's quite hard to call how it's going to go down with the subscribers of this channel. And this is certainly one of those topics. So please do get involved in the comments. I'll look forward to catching up with you all. And I think we're going to see a wide range of opinions and feelings in regards to what Paqueta has had to say. And what Paqueta has had to say is basically just confirming transfer rumours, but I always like to get confirmation because it goes from transfer rumours to transfer news immediately because we're hearing it from the man himself. And I like clarity, I like transparency, and I think that's what Paqueta is providing here. Well, certainly I think he's providing his version of it, but given how honest I think he's being, I'm inclined to believe it actually. So he starts by confirming that transfer to Manchester City, and it's what we've believed for the last couple of years now, that it was due to happen that week. It was going to be completed. He was joining Man City for 80 million. However, he got a letter from the FA informing him of their investigation into those betting allegations, and therefore the move fell through as a result of it. So he confirmed that. We've known that for all along. It fits exactly with what we've been told and what we believe. So that's not really surprising whatsoever. But then he spoke about that potential transfer to Flamengo, or should I say potential transfers, plural, because there was two versions of it. The first one was back in 2023, so when he first learned of these allegations and this investigation, he spoke to the vice chair of Flamengo about potentially going back to the Brazilian club, and he was interested in going back. They were interested in having him back, but it didn't go ahead for one reason nor another. And it feels like it's due to the finances of it. Now, these transfer rumours of Paqueta to Flamengo have been around for ages, and they're still around today. They've been around for the last 2.5 years or something. And I think they've been dismissed one way or another. And I think the main reason it's been dismissed at is due to the fact that could Flamengo even afford him? And I'd imagine that's why it fell through in 2023. It didn't really specify the actual reason for it. But maybe the more interesting thing is he confirmed he spoke to Flamengo, or rather the manager of Flamengo, Luis Felipe, about his desire to go back to Flamengo this summer once he'd been cleared. So he was cleared of those betting allegations. He then contacted the Flamengo head coach. He also informed his own agent that he wanted to go back to Flamengo. Let's see if we can make it happen. But it didn't happen. And he put it down to the fact that West Ham had shown him and his family a lot of support over the last couple of years, and the way we as a football club had handled it, he really appreciated it, and he wanted to repay that support he'd been showing by West Ham United, and that's why he remained at West Ham. And that was sort of the confirmation we got from Lucas Paqueta in regards to those transfer rumours. So to really summarise it and keep it really short and sweet, Paqueta confirmed he potentially wants to go back to Flamengo as recently as the summer, and he tried to make the move happen initially. Now, before I give you my take on it, you may notice there's some bad news. There's only one beer left. I'm down to my last can. There's no snacks. One can. I had 8, 7 consumed, 1 left. That's the bad news. The good news is you're not down to 1 can. The good news is you can get 8 free cans of beer from Beer 52. But not only do you get 8 free cans of beer worth nearly £30, you also get 2 free snacks and the latest Ferment magazine as well. You want some? Of course you want some. It's free beer. Now, you do have to pay the postage, just for clarity. You've got to pay the postage, which is £5.95. But once you've paid that, sit back, relax, give it a couple of days. You'll get a knock at the door from the courier. You open it up, and there's your box from Beer 52 containing those 8 free beers, 2 snacks, and magazines. So how do you get it? It's very, very simple. You go to Beer 52, that's beer52.com/ Hammers. Now, the link is in the description below. I'll put it in the pinned comments as well. So when you go into the comment section to leave your comment regarding Lucas Paqueta, you'll scroll past it. It'll be right there. You just click it. The offer's loaded up. When you get there, it'll say, would you like some mixed beers or would you like to stick to the light beers? Pay your $5.95 postage and the beers arrive at your house. 8 tasty beers. I've enjoyed the 7 I've had so far. I'm looking forward to that one. Be a sad occasion. It's my last one. Anyway, beer52.com/hammers. Grab your free beers. In regards to Paqueta, first of all, before I discuss what you actually said, I will add this. I like it. When our players go away with international duty, I think they tend to be a little bit more honest. We've seen it a lot with Sufal. You wouldn't really hear anything from Sufal. He'd go away with Czech, and then he would talk about whatever, but it would be very honest. It was quite raw emotion a lot of the time from Sufal. You talk about, wanting to leave West Ham and this, that, and the other. And the reason I'm using Sufal as an example is because one thing I would never, ever do is question his commitment when he pulled on a West Ham United shirt. He gave 100% every single match. He was the true professional. He had his issues, he had his unhappiness with the football club, and he was very vocal about it whilst on international duty with Czechia. But he'd come back and just give 100%. And I actually quite like hearing the honest version of events from players. I like hearing their honest feelings and thoughts and what's going on. Souček does it a lot when he goes away with Czechia. We're getting it with Lucas Paqueta with Brazil. It tends to be when they go back to their homeland. I assume it's just because they trust the journalism a little bit more and there's a lack of, or there's less phrases being translated incorrectly into English. I think that happens often. I fell for it discussing Lucas Paqueta last time because I thought he'd written 1 more year on as a caption on his Instagram post because that's what it translated to in England, and then people who knew Portuguese said, well, that's not necessarily what it means in Portugal, though. It's more like, we've got a year coming up, let's get on with it. Not that it's the last season, come on, let's go. So even though the words are the same, it carries a different meaning. So I think when they go away and they speak to journalists in their homeland, I think they perhaps trust them a little bit more. And we know let's be honest, we know what the media are like in this country as well. So I completely get it. But I welcome it. I do welcome it. That's why when Juve said what he said the other day, I quite liked it. I seen a young lad with great ambition. Speaking of that ambition, I love it. I like signing players that carry that ambition. The only thing I do wish, though, is that some of you lot would listen to the video. I mean, if you're at this point in the video, I'm probably not referring to you, but there's some people said, give Juve a break. He's not said anything wrong. Myself and Frankie had said we liked what Juve had said. So anyway, regardless, right, Paqueta, let's get back to it. So I actually quite like what Paqueta said. I think it's an honest version of events. The one thing I will raise my hands at, excuse me, is it feels like there's a lot of confirmed tapping up going on here, but he's at it as well. Paqueta's almost tapping up Flamengo in this occasion. So that part, I appreciate the honesty. Let me just get this clear. I appreciate the honesty. One thing I feel uncomfortable with is doing that, speaking to another club whilst at this club. That's the bit that goes too far for me. I think there's a line. So the bit I've just praised him for is the honesty. Just speaking very honest about what's actually happened. That's the credit I'm giving him. In regards to what's actually happened, it's no surprise. I'd be more surprised if this didn't happen. I'd imagine it happens quite often in football. I'd imagine most of the players West Ham have signed, we've spoken to them beforehand. Because before you begin negotiations, which are going to take a while, and you're discussing business transactions worth tens of millions of pounds, you're going to want to make sure that it's worthwhile doing it. The player's interest. You're not going to conduct all that transfer business and talk and agree a deal with the selling club, and then the player turns around and goes, I don't want to come. Sorry, mate. I'm not interested. And you just lost a lot of time. You lost a lot of money. So I think it happens pretty much every transfer. But I do think there's sort of levels to it, isn't there? There's conversations between agents, and then there's Paqueta discussing a move with the head coach of the football club. That feels quite extreme. That would be like Nuno speaking directly to a player. Probably a Traoré. Adama, mate, fancy coming to West Ham? That feels too tapping up, if that makes sense. Anyway, so I'm uncomfortable with Paqueta speaking to the head coach and trying to get that transfer over the line himself. Telling his agent, I want to go to Flamengo. I don't have an issue with that, by the way. Him wanting out of West Ham, I understand. I understand if he wanted away from England. The bit that I don't quite believe is the reason why it didn't happen. He made on the reason it didn't happen is because he wants to repay the faith and support shown by West Ham. That's the bit I think. Is it? Or is it because Flamengo couldn't afford you? Is it because we've said 40 million for Paqueta and Flamengo can't get anywhere near it, therefore it's a complete no-go anyway, regardless of what you want, it's a no-go. They can't afford you, that's it. You can want to go there as much as you want. You can want that car as much as you want, but you can't afford it, you ain't getting it. So, Paqueta, you're going to have to forgive me. I'm not quite believing the complete reason you stayed, because if you stayed due to the support shown by West Ham United, you wouldn't have that conversation in the first place. You'd say, no, Felipe, I don't want to come. West Ham, they've been incredible to me the last 2 years. I ain't leaving. I'm giving them one more season. At least they're going to get Paqueta with freedom here. But he didn't do that. He was literally saying, I'm interested in coming back. So for him to suddenly change his mind and go, do you know what, I feel a bit guilty. It's almost like he's gone and had a one-night stand and felt guilty and gone back to his missus. Oh, actually, I've discovered through having a one-night stand, I've discovered actually I love you. I want to stay with you. Well, if you did, you probably wouldn't have done that, right? So I'm not believing that that's the reason he stayed at West Ham. My opinion is he wanted to go to Flamengo. They probably couldn't afford him. We possibly weren't looking to sell him. I think we would have cashed in, but I think it would have had to be an attractive offer. Sullivan will sell anyone, and I'm okay with that, by the way. I've always said every player has his price, and whatever player you're saying this player doesn't, I wouldn't sell Bowen. I wouldn't sell Bowen, or I wouldn't sell Potts. Okay, would you sell him for 200 million? You probably would. So therefore, we agree you would sell the player. Now we just need to find that biting point for you. Every player has his price, including Paqueta. I just don't think Flamengo could pay what that price would have been to get him out of West Ham. I think it would have been 40 million. Don't think they could afford it. And I think that's it. It happens. It's football. Tough. Get on with it. And I think he has. I think we've seen some good performances from him this season. And I think we've seen some not so good performances from him this season. But I'd rather have him than not have him, if that makes sense. Now, there's some talk of a January transfer. I'd be very surprised. And also be very disappointed in us and Paqueta, because he's just said, I'm staying at West Ham. The support they're giving me is fantastic. Blah, blah, blah. Well, okay, well, you've got to see out to the end of the season now. You can't just go in January. That's your decision and that's your reason. Stick to it and repay us on the football pitch. And that's where we want repaid, on that football pitch, helping get us out the bottom three, get us away from relegation. And if we end up finishing 14th or 15th, as far as he's concerned, it's job done. Next summer, you can get your move. There is talk of a gentleman's agreement for Paqueta in January. I don't believe that completely. I believe there's a gentleman's agreement. And I'll tell you why. Because we've done it before with Declan Rice. And I'm not against it. By the way, I'm not against it at all. The only thing I will say is if you're going to make it, you've got to stick to it, right? If the club say to a player, give us one more year, then we'll sell you, and the player agrees, what you've got to do is sell him next summer. You've got to stick to your word. I think that integrity, I think, is really important. And it doesn't always work both ways, and there will be times where it doesn't quite work out. But as a football club, I think it's important that you do your bit as fairly and honestly as you've said you would. And we did it with Declan Rice. We promised him we'd sell him if he gave us one more year. He agreed to it. We won in Prague, and we let Rice leave, and we got 100 plus potential 5 million in return for him. But we stuck to it. But also Declan Rice stuck to it. Now, there is examples, Soufal, where we haven't stuck to it according to their version of events. And I'm inclined to believe Soufal, okay? So, again, forgive me if I'm wrong. But Soufal has said he'd been promised a new contract and it never arrived. I believe that, because he won't be the first player to ever claim that. And he was almost begging for a new contract quite publicly when he went away with Czechia quite often. He was quite outspoken about how he loves playing for West Ham. and he just wanted to be paid fairly in comparison to his teammates that he shared a football pitch with every Saturday. He just didn't want to be the lowest paid player that's starting for West Ham anymore. He just wanted to be in line with his teammates. That was it. So I do think we broke that one. So we've agreed with Paqueta. If we've agreed with Paqueta, it's January. I hope not, because that's a very silly thing to do, because I think it's important we stick to it, but I don't want to sell him in January. I hope it's next summer that we've agreed that you can go next summer, but it's got to be a transfer fee that's fair and reflects your ability and also, at this point, your importance to the club. I thought he'd go the summer's just passed. I'm almost surprised that he's still here. I thought he'd go, whether it be Flamengo or to a other club. I thought he'd go to another club. I thought maybe a Champions League club would come in for him. Maybe not Manchester City again, but Newcastle, perhaps. I thought they might have come in for him. They ended up spending the money on Ramsey instead. But it wouldn't have surprised me if they came in for Paqueta and we decided to let him go because then he got Champions League football. He's still here. Good news. The one thing, though, I feel very confident on, he's still going to be itching for a move back to Flamengo today. It just didn't happen in the summer. I don't think he just packs up on that. I'm going to say dream. I think it probably is. I think it's his strong desire to go back to Flamengo. He's come over, played European football, made a lot of money in wages. And now he's ready to go back to Flamengo, to a club that he loves. He loves Flamengo. It's very obvious he loves Flamengo. And again, that's just a normal thing to happen. It's not offensive whatsoever. He will go back there eventually. It's just a case of they need to get the money together. And if they get 40 million together, I think he'll go tomorrow. I think he would. I think we'd accept tomorrow. I think Sullivan would accept it tomorrow. 40 million, I think, feels like the price that's been doing the rounds for a little while. And usually, when a rumour is consistent and irregular, it feels believable. And one of those rumours is Paqueta wanting to go back to Flamengo. He's just told us that it's true. Like I said, I'm uncomfortable with how he went about it, but I don't mind. I don't mind the honesty. I don't mind the transparency, because if he sat in that chair, he was sitting down. If he was sat in that chair and said, "Oh no, me and Flamengo, nothing. No, I don't want to go back to Flamengo. West Ham till I die," I wouldn't believe him. I think, well, I'm not having that. It sounds nice, right? It feels nice as a fan to hear someone commit themselves to the football club. But I don't believe you, so I'm inclined to believe what he said. Like I said, the only bit I don't believe is why he didn't go to Flamengo. The one thing I will add, and to finish up on, well done to the club. Well done to West Ham. I will happily be the first person to criticise them when I think they've done something wrong. I think, therefore, in the interest of balance, it's important to try and, probably am in, but be one of the first ones to give them credit and praise where I think they get something right. And let me be very clear. I'm speaking specifically about how they've supported Lucas Paqueta. And that is it, right? The praise and credit is purely down to how they've supported Paqueta, because he's always been quite complimentary about how West Ham have supported him, and I think we have. I think we've done good. I think the players have rallied round him. We've heard that. Alvarez, Emerson, they rallied round him. I think the managers, all three of them, 4 of them now, have supported him, but Nuno came once he was cleared. But the 3 previous, especially David Moyes, that man rocked up in a hearing and gave evidence and backed Paqueta to the hilt. He absolutely crucified the guy that was firing questions at David Moyes. Moyes was a massive, massive support for Lucas Paqueta in that hearing, and for West Ham, because the result was he got cleared. That's the best outcome for West Ham United. So even though Moyes was no longer with us, he'd done Paqueta and us a solid in that. Moyes supported him. Lopetegui supported him. Tim Steidten supported him. Regardless of what you think of Steidten, he supported him. He went to Paqueta's gaff in Brazil to see him. I think Potter supported him. I think all 3 managers really tried their best to look after him. And I think those above the managers also did their best to look after him as well. Now, of course, it's in West Ham's interest to look after him, because as an asset, he's worth tens of millions of pounds to the football club. And had he got found guilty and got banned, West Ham had just lost someone worth whatever, 20, 30, 40, even if it's 25 million Flamengo can pay, we'd just lost 25 million quid, right? So it was in West Ham's best interest. He was found not guilty, and he has been. But I still think what the club done to support him was it feels like and sounds like near enough perfect. It sounds like they did everything. So well done to the club on that, because they get a lot wrong. And I think they've actually got this one right. Maybe Paqueta's just being that honest. Maybe the reason he decided to stick around one more year was to repay the faith. Perhaps that is just the truth. I just don't believe it. But you can. Let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you think in regards to what Lucas Paqueta said. Personally, I'm unbothered by it. I think it's a good thing. Like I said, the only bit I'm uncomfortable with is him speaking to the head coach of Flamengo and trying to get that transfer. That feels a little bit too far for me. Unless he had the permission of West Ham, then all's fair. And he might have done. Maybe he spoke to West Ham and they said, look, if you can get someone to put 40, 50 million on the table, we'll accept it. And he's going to try to make that transfer happen. Maybe. It feels like a stretch, though. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me. Get involved in the comments below. Let me know what you think. If you've enjoyed this video, please do drop a like on it by clicking the thumbs up button. Sky Hammers chatting. If you fancy 8 free beers, 2 free snacks, and the latest Ferment magazine, go to beer52. That's beer52.com/hammers. Guess what? Catch you in a bit.